So I just finished listening to Us, Etc. by Kit Vincent, and this book, like, went above and beyond my expectations. If you've been on my page, if you know me, you know I'm not like the biggest fan of sci-fi. I don't dislike it. It's just kind of hard for me to find books in that genre that I really enjoy. And this one, I think is probably going to be one of my favorites. So this book is kind of set in like a dystopian, kind of futuristic kind of setting, in which like we now have tons of AIs. And we, obviously like there's discussions about how like the AIs have taken over people's jobs. There's people who are unhappy with it, and the very wealthy have AIs who look very human, who do anything from cleaning their house to like watching their children to planning parties. So in this book, we follow two AIs. We follow Eek and Kip. Now, Eek has been with his family for about 6 years. He is pretty much being brutalized by one of the children of this family and just by the family in general. They treat him very poorly. He's an older model, and he's just very lonely, and we get a lot of this is through his perspective. But the family end up getting Kip, who is like a newer model. He's like this really high-tech model. And so when he first comes, like Eek is a little excited because he thinks he's going to get a friend, but there's like, there's a little difference between them, and Eek kind of starts to feel even more isolated and lonely because he feels like everyone is loving Kip and not him so much. So now as time goes on, like some incidences happen. You find out that Kip actually really does care for Eek and is actually incredibly protective of him. And the two of them actually do end up escaping from their family, and it's a whole, travel, and them really, most specifically Eek realizing, that this world that he thought he knew was not accurate. He did not realize that, there were states where you could kill AIs on site. There were also states where it was safe for AIs to go to. He just was unaware of the general hatred of humans toward AI. But one of the things that I think was why I end up loving this book so much is how, the emotions of Eek, how, he at one point, like he very much cares for things around him, like a plant that he finds and some fish that he gets to feed at the house. And there's an instance where, something happens and he's sitting there and he doesn't understand what's going on. He thinks he has a malfunction in his eyes, but he doesn't realize that it's actually crying. So it's just really interesting to watch Eek just slowly but surely have more humanistic emotions and feelings and being very like unsure what's going on and feeling like he's broken because of that. And Kip kind of, being the one to let him know, like, no, you're not broken. You're evolving. You're growing. It's okay to have these feelings. But I think overall this book, it brings a lot of, things to thought. Like how would we as a society handle AIs coming and taking jobs and living in our homes, how would we treat them? Some of the humans in this book do treat AIs as if they are human. They treat them with respect. The vast majority don't. The vast majority treat them as if they are just objects, that they have no, emotions or thoughts or feelings, that they're just basically furniture that they can boss around, or in instances, beat up and brutalize. So I think it's a really thought-provoking book. I absolutely loved Eek. He was just such a little sweetheart. I loved watching just his amazement and wonder at the world that he kind of gets to explore on his trip with Kip. Obviously it does turn into a romance between Kip and Eek, and I think it flows very well, from that beginning where Eek thinks that Kip hates him, to like slowly learning that no, Kip is just kind of watching. He's figuring things out. And then really seeing just how protective Kip becomes of Eek. I think it's all really well done. So this book has been out for a while, I think. The audiobook is coming out on July 25th. Both of the narrators were wonderful and perfect, and I think they did such a good job of really like bringing you into the plot, into the story, into the emotions that these two experience. I'm gonna blank. I'm not gonna remember the audiobook narrators' names right now because I'm terrible at that. But I do think that this is a wonderful book, and I think it's a really good audiobook, and it should be something that you add to your list. And like I said, it's a very thought-provoking kind of book about, AI and how do we handle AI? How do we treat AI? Are they, just things that have no feelings and thoughts and emotions, or are they actually kind of sentient beings that can grow into that? So again, I think that's a wonderful book. Really blew me out of the water and went above and beyond my expectations. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of sci-fi books. I really struggle a lot with getting into them and enjoying them. And I think this just like really hit in a perfect way. And in fact, I think it gave me a lot of vibes and feelings of In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. So it really reminded me of that at certain points. And I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because I absolutely love that book. So if you're looking for a good kind of sci-fi, dystopian, futuristic type book, I think this is going to be the one for you.